Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here to break down the NASCAR Truck Series slate on Thursday, September 10th. We got a big weekend in NASCAR, but it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, not Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or just two Saturdays and Sunday races. So early start to the weekend for no NASCAR on Sunday, so we got to be out here on Friday night or on Thursday and Friday night racing. So if you're new to this channel, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, leave a comment. All those things really help me grow. We've had a lot of growth throughout NASCAR season and NBA season and now NFL season starting up as well. So if you're in any of those sports, you should stick around as well and check out my content on those. If you want to subscribe to my Patreon for only $10 a month, for all three series combined for only $10 a month, you're going to get a spreadsheet with all the stats you need to know along with projections, a daily article for every single race. You're going to get salary tier rankings and a cash score for every single race. So be sure to check that out. I'll put the link in the description below. If you want to follow me on social media, my Twitter's at TFSNateLane, Instagram's at @NateLane_. I'll put those in the link below as well. Just love talking about sports and stuff over there in general. So yeah, be sure to check all that out. All right, let's get into the drivers. So Sheldon Creed's the most expensive driver again on Draftkings at $11,500. He starts 12th. He's had a great. He's been driving really well recently. He was probably going to win last week at Darlington, or was that I don't know. One of the races recently he was going to win. It was Darlington, not Gateway. He was going to win Darlington. He did win Gateway, and he ended up getting a penalty, pitted, and then had a penalty. So last 5 races, average finish of 20.5. Doesn't really look so great, but he's been running much better. As you can see, an average running position at 8.5. He's had some bad luck at the end of races. That results in him starting 12th. This isn't a track he succeeded at too well. 15th best average finish at short track. Well, they haven't raced at Richmond, so at short tracks and flat tracks, which is what Richmond is. 15th best average finish at short tracks, 13th best at flat tracks. So that's really not great, but a lot of the tracks this year he's exceeded what he's done in the past. So I'm really not too worried about that. I don't think Sheldon Creed's like one of my top options this week, but I think he's someone if you're playing a bunch of lineups to have in some GPP lineups. So I don't hate going there, but just not one of my favorites. Johnny Sauter starts 20th at $11,200. I'm going to continue to not play him because he's just been bad this year. Has not ran well at all. I don't care about his numbers at these types of tracks. I mean, every single track he looks good at, but last 5 races, he has an average finish of 21.5, an average position of 14.5, 18 laps led. Not good. Not what I'm looking for from Johnny Sauter. He just continues to be too expensive for me to really want to go there. Just not someone I'm really too interested in getting to. Austin Hill at $10,800 starts on the pole. I think he's a solid option, but he hasn't really been great at short tracks over his career. Last 2 years, only the 14th best average finish at short tracks and the 15th at flat tracks. So that doesn't really bode well for him. And he only has 26 laps led at short tracks too. So I don't really know if this is really the place to target Austin Hill. Yeah, he does start on the pole. He's got some nice track position, so he could get off to an early lead. But I think he's really going to hang out there for most of the day. In the last 5 races, Austin Hill has an average finish of 7.25 though, and an average position of 8.4, but only 51 laps led isn't really what we're looking for. I mean, he's just a very consistent finisher. He's like Matt Crafton in a sense, where he just finishes consistently up towards the front. But this isn't really a track where he's excelled at, so I don't know if he's really someone I want to target. David Reagan is $10,400, starting 21st. He ran last week at Darlington, had a really good run going, had an average position of 10th, and dropped back at the end, finishing 22nd, which is kind of unfortunate for lineups, but I think he's fine going back there. He was running up inside the top 10 for the most part of this race. He was in the top 5 at one point as well. So I don't hate going back there again. Just the finish didn't show that. So 10,400 starting 21st. I do like going to David Reagan. He's in the DGR Crossley number 17 truck, so I do like going there. Christian Eckes starts 3rd at 10,100. The short tracks haven't been the best for him. Only the 10th best average finish at short tracks and the 9th best at flat tracks. But when you go look at the last 5 races, Christian Eckes has been on a tear, absolutely dominating recently. Average finish of 4.4 and 93 laps led in the last 5 races. He's just been very good. He just hasn't been able to find that win yet, but I mean, we know he's going to lead laps. We know he's going to be up front. I definitely like going to some Christian Eckes because see him getting a lead kind of early in this race. Definitely someone I want to target on this slate. I like him more than Austin Hill. I just think he's better at these types of tracks. He's been running better recently, leading more laps. He's been faster, even a better driver rating. So he's definitely someone I do want to target. I wouldn't call him my favorite play of the day, but he's definitely someone I want to target. Chandler Smith starting 14th at 9,800 at number 51 Kyle Busch Motorsports truck. He's just been like wrecking literally every race. I'm pretty sure he's wrecked like all but one race this year. It's insane. I don't know how that happens, but he's just been wrecking every single race. I feel like eventually it's going to stop, but it's probably going to be the week I don't play him. I'll probably get a little bit of exposure to Chandler Smith. I think he's an okay option. He hasn't been running well. Only an average finish like 21.5 in the last 5 races, but it's because he wrecks every single race. I mean, if you go look at short tracks, he has the 7th best average finish at short tracks, and he's the best average finish at flat tracks. This is where he's excelled at in this truck series. Is the short tracks, mainly last year, not this year, but it continues to be in like the fastest truck in the field. So I don't hate going to him, but at this point, I don't think it's even a cash play anymore. I think he's just someone maybe to throw in tournaments just because he's just been struggling so bad. All right, Brett Moffatt, here's my pick to win this race, $9,600, starting 4th. I think he's the best. I think he's another driver like Christian Eckes who's just been very, very fast this year, just hasn't gotten the win yet. He has the 2nd best average finish at short tracks, 2nd best average finish at flat tracks. When we go to look at lap sled, he has 371 lap sled at short tracks and 117 at flat tracks. Yeah, Johnny Sauter has more, but Johnny Sauter has had more lap sled than pretty much everybody at every single track. He hasn't done that at all this year. So Brett Moffatt looks really, really good starting 4th. I think he's someone who could dominate and win this race. When we go look at the last 5 races, he does only have an average finish of 10.2, but he has 151 laps, so we've seen him lead laps, and I'm pretty sure every single one in the last 5 races. So he's been running very, very well. I just think it's about time he gets a win. So someone I definitely want to target a ton on this slate as a dominator is definitely Brett Moffatt. I think he has a ton of upside, someone I definitely like going to today. Up next, Matt Crafton at 9,400, starting 10th. He has the 5th best average finish at short tracks, 11th best at flat tracks. He's not going to be a guy who's going to lead laps. I mean, if we look at the last 5 races, he only has 26 laps led, but he does have an average finish of 5th, so I can expect a consistently good finish from him. And if some of these guys who start towards the front don't lead laps, I think he could end up being someone who like sneaks his way into the optimal line if he finishes like 2nd or something. So I'll definitely have some exposure to Crafton, but I just don't think he really has a ton of upside to lead laps. But sometimes in the truck series, that's not necessarily all you need. So I do think that's interesting to note. But yeah, I think Matt Crafton's fine. I just don't know if he's someone that I really want to make like a core play here. Todd Gillian starts 8th place. He has 9th best average finish at short tracks, 5th best at flat tracks. He's been running pretty well recently as well. Average finish of 9 in the last 5 races. Only 5 laps led in the last 5 races. But Todd Gillian, I mean, he's looked pretty solid recently. I think he's someone who can get up front, maybe lead some laps. I think he's led some more laps at Gateway too. He looked fast at Gateway a few weeks ago, which is a flat track like this. So I think Todd Gillian's someone who is going to be a little bit sneaky that not a lot of people are going to go for. I think that this is a track that he's going to excel at just because we saw him excel at Gateway 2 weeks ago, which is a track, it's not exactly similar, but it is a flat track like Richmond. A little bit longer, but it's still a flat track. So I do think Todd Gillian has a ton of upside here that is going to be lower owned. Just like, I mean, you just got to find, like, usually in these truck races, you got to find guys that are a little bit lower owned that not a lot of people are going to target. And I think this, like, Matt Crafton, Todd Gillian range, and maybe even Chandler Smith are guys to look for in that, because everyone always plays Moffatt, everyone always plays Christian Eckes, always going to be ownership on Zane Smith. There's going to be ownership on Sam Mayer today. So Gillian and Crafton are going to get some low ownership this week, and probably Chandler Smith too, just because of how bad he's been running. Up next we have Zane Smith, who starts 9th at $9,000. He has the best average finish at short tracks and the 8th best at flat tracks. When we go look at laps led, 50 laps led at short tracks over the last, really just this year. When we go look at his last 5 races, he's an average finish of 6.75 and 127 laps led at second most in the field behind Brett Moffatt. So he's been running really well. I mean, we know Zane Smith's been on fire like the last month and a half, it seems like. Just winning, he's won, I think, 2 or 3 races, led a ton of laps. So I think Zane Smith's definitely like a guy that's going to get ownership. I definitely want to get some exposure to him. He starts 9th. There's some place differential upside. I could totally see him winning this race. So yeah, I really do like going to Zane Smith. Sam Mayer, 8,800 is probably going to be chalky, but I'll eat up that chalk this week. I mean, 1 race at a short track, so which was Dover. He finished 15th, and so I mean, but in his last 2 races, he's been running really well. At Gateway, we saw he's run 2 races. At Gateway, we saw him run up front. He was leading laps. He had a chance to win that race. Just didn't pan out for him, but I believe he had top 5 run in that race. So that's a track similar here. It's like the 2 tracks he's run are like it's like a mix of each one. Like you put both those 2 tracks together and you get Richmond. So $8,800 for Sam Mayer starting 25th. Yeah, give me that. He's in the number 24 GMS truck. He's got a truck that can run up front. He has top 5 potential. I mean, I guess he has winning potential, leading laps potential. So $8,800, I'd want to get to that. Ben Rhodes coming off a win at Darlington last week. Starts 2nd. He has the 6th best average finish at Richmond or at short tracks, 6th best at flat tracks. He has 94 laps led at short tracks as well, which is a little bit surprising, honestly. I mean, you wouldn't really expect that out of Ben Rhodes. In the last 5 races, average finish is 6.2, only 6 laps led though. Just not someone I really think is going to be in position to be like a dominator this race. I think he's got a good truck. We all know he's a good driver. But I guess I could see him getting out front and leading laps early. Like him or Austin Hill is going to lead the early portion. I had more bank on Austin Hill just because he's been faster this year, but I think Ben Rhodes is still a fine option to go after. I mean, he is fresh off a win at Darlington last week. Big win for him. Now he doesn't have to, he was pretty much going to make the playoffs anyway, but now he won himself in. So it's always a good win for drivers to get that. But definitely someone who's like an interesting GBP option, but probably not someone we're going to get a ton of ownership to. Up next, we have Derek Krauss starting 6 to 8,500. He has the 11th best average finish at short tracks, 12th best at flat tracks. When we go to the last 5 races, Derek Krauss has an average finish of 7.6 and 10 laps led. See, Derek Krauss is another one of these drivers, so I just don't think he's going to get a lot of ownership. $8,500 just because he starts 6th, and he might be a guy that, he just runs around side top 5 all race, or top 5 all race. That's going to be valuable. He may not quote unquote hit value or kill value, but in truck races, you don't need all your drivers to just destroy value. That's not how it works. Because just there's not a ton of laps in these races. Only a little bit over. It's like 170 or something like that. So, Derek Krauss, $8,500. I think he's a fine option. I only play him in tournaments. Wouldn't play him in cash. Wouldn't touch him in cash at all, actually. So, but I still think he's solid. Grant Enfinger, 8,300, starting 5th. He has the 4th best average finish at short tracks and the 6th best at flat tracks. When we come look at the last 5 races, Grant Enfinger has an average finish of 7 and 38 laps led. So he's been running pretty solid. I don't know. He just hasn't really been someone who's going to lead a bunch of laps. He starts 5th. I guess he's someone you can throw in lineups. I'd rather play Krauss, honestly. I really would. But I think both of them are fine, GBP options that aren't going to be lower owned, so I don't hate going to either of them. Stuart Friesen, $8,100, starting 13th. Last 2 weeks he's been running really well, 2 top 10s. I think he had top 5 actually at Darlington. So finally for him, and maybe he's actually going to be on my radar for once because he's been terrible all year. 8th best average finish at short tracks, 3rd best at flat tracks. Last 5 races overall, still an average finish of 13.75. But the last 2 specifically, he has been running much, much better. So I don't hate going there. I think he's another driver who's probably not going to get a ton of ownership because he just hasn't been running well. He's in this range of drivers like Ben Rhodes, Derek Krauss, Grant Enfinger, Stuart Friesen. Probably won't get a ton of ownership. Mayer above them and Bain below them will probably get most of it. Speaking of Trevor Bain, don't really want to go there again. Last week in my video, I said about how I'm really not too high on Trevor Bain. I think he's still fine for cash. He's in the Nice Motorsports truck, but he really didn't run well last week. I think he finished a few laps down. Finished in the in the 20s, 27th or something like that, and rode around there all day too. So I don't really know how much I want to pay for him. I know he's a bigger name, but it's not like he was really ever that good in any of the series that he ran. So when he did run, it's just, I think he's okay. If you want to get there, I'm probably going to avoid him in tournaments because I'm sure he's going to get some ownership, and I'd rather just play some of the other guys around him with the same amount of upside and lower owned. So, but in cash, I think Trevor Bain is okay. Tyler Ankrum starting 11th at $7,800. I don't really ever play Tyler Ankrum. He has 18th best average finish at short tracks, 16th best at flat tracks. When we go look at the last 5 races, an average finish of 11.2, 25 laps, or 0 laps led, my bad. That's just a problem. He's going to run around where he starts. He doesn't really have a ton of upside to get up front more. You don't usually see him actually running up front. He always finishes consistently in top 15, but I don't know. It's just not something I really want to get to. I'd rather play guys that I think have more top 5 upside. I don't feel like Tyler Ankrum really has. He doesn't hit it. He does, but he doesn't hit it too often. Rafael Assard starting 7th in the KBM truck, 13th best average finish at short tracks, 14th best at flat tracks. When we go look at his recent races, he has an average finish of 11 and 4 laps led. He's actually been running a lot better recently. He's started out the season really rough. I think, again, someone who's really not going to get a ton of ownership here is Rafael Assard. And he's someone who you can use to be different at $7,600. He can hang around that top 10 all day. He can compete for a top 5. So I don't hate going there. I think he is a decent option. Tanner Gray starting 19th at $7,400. I don't really usually look at Tanner Gray's stats for individual tracks because he's much better this year. Average finish of 13.25 in the last 5 races with 4 laps led. I think Tanner Gray is someone who can crack the top 15 for you and maybe even possible top 10. I think he's got some upside, someone I definitely want to target. And he's probably going to be a little bit lower owned than Carson Hocevar is going to be super chalky as well. But I want to play Carson Hocevar today. He saw him finish 12th at Dover. I think both races actually. So he has an average finish of 12 in the last few races he's ran. I think he ran both Dover races. I think he finished 12th in both. So Carson Hocevar, definitely someone I want to get to. He looks pretty fast in those Nice trucks. He's been impressive. I thought when he came on the scene he was really just a road course guy, but looks like they're trying to get him more and more involved in the truck series, and he's looked pretty good. So I think at 7,200 he's going to be a fine play. I think he should be able to get you a top 20 at the very least. So hopefully he doesn't wreck out. Usually this is when I get screwed over and my guys will wreck, but for that price, for that price tag. I don't hate that at all. Starting 30th, I thought for sure he'd be a little more expensive than 7,200. So definitely someone I want to target. Austin Wayne Stealth starting 17th at $7,100. It's probably not someone I want to get to. Average finish is 16.75 in the last 5 races. Just doesn't have a ton of upside. Same thing with Timmy Hill starting 15th at $6,900. Last 5 races, he's an average finish of 16. Just doesn't carry a ton of upside. Cody Rohrball gets starting 28th at $6,700. I mean, I think he's okay. I mean, he's average finish like 23 in the last 5 races, but for the most part, he's probably not going to like do much enough for you to really pay off. Same thing with Josh Ramey at $6,500. I don't really ever play these Ramey brothers trucks. They don't really ever seem to do well. Starting 29th at $6,500 too. It's not like he's in the 5Ks. I mean, he does have an average finish of 22.5 in the last 5 races, but I just don't trust those trucks. They always have a ton of engine issues. So I mean, I guess he can end up finishing up there, but he's still like not super cheap. Like if he was in the 5K range, that'd be a different story. But at 6,700 or something like that, 6,500. Yeah, I don't really want to pay for that. We don't ever play Norm Benning. We don't ever play Jordan Anderson anymore. Danny Bone though at 5,900 has an average finish in those last 2 race days run of 18. He starts 18th, so if he can hang around there and finish like 12th at Gateway, I think he's a very good play at 5,900. I don't think a lot of people are going to play him. People are probably going to go more towards the guys starting towards farther and back like Cody Rohrball and Josh Ramey and maybe even Balicki or something like that. But Danny Bone at 5,900 starting 18th, I think he's a solid option. Ryan Huff's in one of the Ramey brothers trucks. I don't really want to go after that. Josh Balicki 5,600 starting 33rd. I don't really want to go after that. He's really not in a good truck either. I think he is okay. I think he does have some sort of upside, but still not something I really want to go to. Spencer Boyd starting 26th at 5,400. Let's go take a look at his stats in the last 5 races. An average finish of 24.6. Definitely not something I really want to get to. Tate Fogelman at 5,300 starting 16th is probably the guy I would go to down here in the super cheap range. He has an average finish of 18 in the last 5 races. He can just hang around there. Maybe even if you lose like a spot or two, I think he's going to be fine. Natalie Decker, 5,100 starting 27th, has an average finish of 35th in the last 5 races. She's just not good. Like, she really just isn't good. Occasionally she'll have a good run. Like, I don't usually just play her on oval tracks. Like, I'll play her on super speedways. I'll play her in road courses because they're wild card races. But on the ovals, I don't usually ever go after her at all. Maybe throw her in a lineup or two, but not a ton of ownership for me on Natalie Decker. And then Clay Greenfield actually hasn't been running so bad recently. Average finish of 24.8 in the last 5 races, but he starts 22nd, so not really too interested. Jennifer Jo Cobb, not interested at all. This is a slate where I don't think I'm going to be paying a lot of the guys up towards the top. I'm going to be getting a lot more to mid-range guys because there's really not a ton of value outside of maybe Fogelman that I really like, maybe Danny Bones. So probably not a ton of that for me. But yeah, I think that's really all I got to say for this video. Thank you guys so much for checking it out. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe on the channel. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Hope you guys make some money. I'm going to be coming out the Xfinity Series race. I'm literally recording that and a Cup Series video like right after this. So be sure to look out for all of those. They'll be out. All 3 will be out on YouTube soon. Thank you guys so much for watching this.